what's important to me is having good time and, you know, being able to play the guitar parts confidently, but also be able to focus on trying to sing well, you know, because a lot of times when you're singing and playing, one takes a bit of a hit.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
You don't play quite as well when you're singing well, or you don't sing as well if you're playing well. And so it was a lot of repetition of like, you know, like a song like Made Up Mind, I spent a lot of times going... hours and hours playing that same pattern over and over. So that's
a fun one to play, it sounds of it.
Super fun. Yeah, it's really, really fun.
Yeah.
But so that, you know, when I was ready to start singing over it, I didn't have to think about it as much. And that's kind of like, that's a big part of prepping for a show is like, you always just want to get yourself to the point where you don't have to think about the fundamentals of the part. I'm not worried about, what chord is this? Or what's my part again? Like, I know them so well that I can go on autopilot, and then I can play this well, and then also be able to sing well. It's just time. It's just hours.
Oh, I know. You know?
I think though a lot of people, like a lot of my students, they're hoping for some shortcut. It's like,
there's none. Yeah,
there's no shortcut. It's like sitting there going, damn it, 3, 4, it's done. You know, there's so much of that. So, you know, my arrangement of Hallelujah, I Love Her So.
Oh man, I love that arrangement.
My part Anna, man, when I was learning, when I came up with the arrangement because of there's a Jerry Reed version.
I haven't heard that.
It's amazing, and I borrowed a lot from that, and he starts his out with that. He starts it with that thing, and so I loved that, and I wanted to transcribe it, and it's kind of a hard fingering, and so man, I must have played it for 2 or 3 days, and by the end, Anna was just like, I need you to take a break from that. Like, cool. I love you. I cannot wait to hear this arrangement when it's done. I mean, she didn't actually ask me to stop playing it, but she's just like,
just needed a break.
That's a lot of that same thing. Like,
yeah. Steve Vai talks about the ultra zone of basically, you know, you're starting to get something when you're starting to hate it.
Yeah. Louis C.K. says the same thing about hunger. You know, you don't eat until you're not hungry anymore. You eat until you hate yourself.
I love that bit. I don't. That's right.
Yeah. I mean, and I think that's ultimately the thing that separates a lot of people from getting to that next sort of spot is just being willing to lose those hours to those things, you know.
Yeah.
And a lot of people glossing over certain things because you go, good enough, you know. And I think there has to be a definitely a moderate level of obsession.
Oh, absolutely. So, to drive you to even want to do that is
exactly. Yeah. And like I want to play that, but I want it to be. I want it to be clean. Obviously, that was not. But you know, I want it to be clean, and I want it to groove, and I want it to be, you know, kind of funky. So.
And you can just be in it.
I have to work on all three of those things separately.
Yeah.
Got to get it clean first. Then I got to get it nice and in time, and then I got to get it to feel funky and like, you know, the whole thing is it takes a long time.
Yeah.
But you're always better at the end. Like when you spend 3 days learning an intro of an arrangement, man, it's just like by the time you're done, that's something I can do now, and I can do it with a bunch of different things too. You know, if I set my mind to it. So it's always worth doing.
Yeah.
But it's like, you know, you got to be willing to just sit there and like drool.
Yeah.
But
I think it's good to hear you say that, because I think a lot of people, they don't realize that part of it, that craziness, that thing that drives you to sit there for 3 days just doing that one thing until you get it, you know?
Yeah, it is a funny thing. I mean, I struggle with that because, I mean, like, obviously, if somebody delivers a compliment, you always want to say thank you, but sometimes it's hard to have somebody go, oh, you're just so talented.
Oh, I know.
It's like, that's a very lovely and kind thing to say, but this is not talent.
Yeah.
This is just hard work.
Yeah.
You know, like, and not to say that talent isn't a thing, but like being able to play something like that little intro is like, man, that was 3 days of work.
Oh yeah.
And it was not talent that allowed me to learn that part.
Yeah.
You know,
it's like I heard Paul Gilbert say, like, people say that to him, and he said they forget I've spent more time playing guitar than anybody's probably done of anything in their whole life.
Yeah.
So it's like I can't do anything else really. It's the amount of time it's spent, you know.
Yeah.
Because it's hard for people to. There's got to be something driving you to want to put in that time to begin with, right?
I'm glad that you say that, because that's the thing that I think is a bit of an intangible, like, because the ability on an instrument is hard work, but the love for the hard work is a different thing.
Yeah.
And where that comes from, I'm not sure. But what I can say is that I've had the very, very good fortune to make friends with other people who are as passionate about their craft as I am about mine. But I've got a friend who makes steel body resonators down in Michigan named Matt Ike. He makes mule guitars, and he's as geeky about building guitars as I am about the guitar, playing the guitar and singing and writing songs, you know. And so, although our craft is different, and he's a lovely guitar player himself, but our craft is different. But we bond over the work.
Yeah.
And then he has his friend named Conrad Sauer, who's in Kitchener, and he builds hand planes. He builds these really beautiful hand planes. And so I met Matt in Kitchener because he was coming up to visit Conrad, and so I split the drive. I drove out to Kitchener to pick up a guitar that he'd made me, and we wound up striking up this really beautiful friendship between the three of us. Although, you know, Conrad built 2 guitars, but he's not really a guitar player. He builds he's a carpenter who builds hand tools, and Matt's a guitar player, but he's essentially a luthier who builds guitars. But the three of us connected over the craft.
Yeah.
And it didn't matter that I didn't know anything about woodworking. When Conrad was telling me about woodworking, I totally got it, because it was like, that's how I think about harmony on the guitar.
Yeah.
And it's the same way. I want to know every little,
you
know, and when I find something that I don't
gotta have it all, right?
Totally. So to get back to that whole talent, hard work conversation, I do believe that there is some sort of, like, spiritual, intangible thing, but I don't think it's in the ability.
Yeah.
And I think that's you know, when somebody says, "Oh, I could never do that. I don't have the talent." It's like, no, you totally could.
Yeah.
You totally could. Was I born with the knowledge of this tuning? No.
Yeah. You learn it.
You learn it. You totally learn it.